So in the last video, we saw how we can use NetBeans to create a project. So NetBeans is called an IDE, Integrated Development Environment. It helps developers write code. And so you saw it was very easy. We just clicked a button to create a project. It created this file for us. We wrote our code, and then we had to just click on the green arrow and things ran. Now, what I want to do right now is see how we could do this if we don't have NetBeans installed. If we don't have NetBeans installed, we have to have at least the JDK installed. And so what we're going to do, I'm going to do it from scratch using Notepad. So I'm going to open up a Notepad file, an empty one. And from the start, you're going to find that we're going to have to do a little bit more than we did with NetBeans because we don't have anything typed up like NetBeans. So I have to type up some code. So right now, I'm just going to type up what the slides say. And I know that at this point, you're not really sure what we're typing. We're going to learn every single word in this course, what everything means. But for now, I'm just going to write what is in the slides. My code. Now I need to save it. I'm going to say File, Save As, and I will just save it to my flash drive to make things a little easier. So I'm just going to save it here, and I'm going to call it hello world.java. Okay, so I saved it to my flash drive. And now I want to go and run this code. So like I said, we need to have Java installed, the JDK. So I already installed it and I have it in my path. So I'm going to go and get a command prompt. And since my file is in the E drive, I'm going to go to the E drive. And I'm going to type Java. Oops. Java C is the Java compiler. I'm going to say hello world.java. And the Java compiler, what it does, it runs through the file to make sure that there are no syntax errors, to make sure that the file is good. It can read it. It can get translated into machine language because we said the computer cannot understand the English that we're writing. So right now, it was able to translate it into machine language, and I want to run it. So I'm going to say Java hello world without the Java, the .java extension this time, and it printed what I wanted. Let's just try this again. I'm going to change the message here, hello world, and I don't know, smiley face. Okay, and let's go back to our command prompt, and I'm going to type Java C again, hello world. Well, actually, let me show you what happens if I don't compile again. So if I just say hello, I try to run hello world again. You see that it's running the same old code. If I want to make sure that I run the new code, I have to recompile hello world.java to generate a new file, and then I can run it. So now I'll run the new file. Something happened. Did I not save? I did not save. Let's save it and go back. So let's again run the old code to make sure it's running the old code. And now let's compile. So I'm compiling the new code and running the new code, and now it has the hello world. Let's go back to the file and force it to have something wrong. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase the semicolon here. I'm going to pretend that I forgot a semicolon. And let's recompile, run the compiler, and now it tells me that there's a syntax error. So the job of the compiler is to make sure my file can be translated into machine language. And here we see I cannot translate it to machine language because I'm missing a semicolon. So I need to go back and put that semicolon in. And now if I try compiling it again, it will let me compile, and then I can run it. Okay. Now I just created a Java, a hello world.java file. What is happening in the background? And looks like I lost my Windows Explorer for some reason. There we go. So I'm going to come here to my E drive. And remember, I created a file called helloworld.java. And this is the file that I created at 621. We just updated it. If you look, there's a helloworld.class file that's also getting created. So the .java file is the file that I wrote, the text file that I wrote. The .class file is the file that the compiler created when it translated the Java file into machine language. And this is what the computer is running, the .class file. Now you don't have to run this, you don't have to try this yourself. This was just to show you what is going on in the background when we run Java. So the process that we are going through when we're writing code is we are using some text editor to create a file. This file that we write, this is called our source code. So when I tell you later, show me your source code, what I'm talking about is showing me that .java file that you wrote yourself. Now that you wrote the Java file, you want to make sure that it's valid, it has valid syntax. So what we do is we run the Java compiler. That was the Java-C. The Java compiler reads the .java file, the source code, makes sure it's syntactically correct, and it can be translated into machine language. If it can translate it into machine language, it will create a bytecode. It will create the .class file. And then the Java virtual machine, the JVM, will translate that bytecode, will execute that bytecode and run your program. We're going to talk more about the Java virtual machine in the next video.